ratios. These are other factors that we use. Looking at the three different documents that we have, we got the balance sheet, the income statement, and the statement of cash flow. We also do a lot more tweaking, a lot more checking as to what's going on. We call them ratios. You especially need to know this if you're going to buy stocks and bonds in the process as well. You want to pay attention to them. You have four general categories of ratios. One is liquidity. You already know that liquidity is about how much money or how much assets you can get in 1 year, how much you can liquidate the company. So overall, the instant value within a year. Leverage ratios are about debt. And debt plays a big role, and that's going to change between different industries. If you have a business that is a cash and carry business, so to speak, you have a retail store, you sit down and you have clothing for sale in the front, that's a totally different business than a capital intensive business, let's say an auto manufacturing plant where you have millions, often billions of dollars of equipment inside, and you have massive debt and you can't liquidate it. So that being said, there's a different ratio for a retail industry versus a manufacturing industry. So every industry is going to have different levels of what's an acceptable ratio for liquidity or leverage by the time you're done. You also have profitability ratios as it comes down to it. They'll vary from industry to industry. And then you have what we call activity ratios, or what is the business doing today as you come through it. So the two things over here, liquidity ratios, we look at the current ratio often. It's found on the balance sheet. It's how you turn the assets to cash to help pay short-term debts. The current ratio, another one we call the acid test ratio. Here, probably one of the biggest things on the leverage ratio is the debt to owner's equity ratio. In other words, if you borrow past what the owners have invested in the company, that means something to people looking and measuring your operation as you come through. On the profitability ratios of all of them, you have earnings per share, returns on sales, returns on equity. They're relatively easy to calculate, but the one that is the most used is EPS, earnings per share. A lot of times when you're buying things in the stock market, you're going to see EPS posted on a regular basis. You'll see it in the Wall Street Journal. You'll see it almost any kind of organization that publishes a newsletter or whatever. You'll see EPS because a lot of times you want to see earnings per share, making certain that the company is profitable. And you also then look at the earnings per share, what it's like normally in that industry as you come through. Activity ratio is a big deal. It's about the amount of inventory that you go through. For instance, if you go onto a retailer's shelf, you look on the shelf and there's something sitting there on the shelf. Well, how many times does somebody buy the shelf and the shelf is empty and you refill it? It's very similar to what we call the inventory turnover ratio. It's a big deal. Here's an example of inventory turnover. If you're ever in a restaurant and you're taking your time eating, the wait staff will come over and they'll start bugging you. Want some more water? Want some more water? Hey, want some more water? Their goal isn't to give you more water. Their goal is to get you out because they want to have the table turn over to get somebody else in to leave them a tip. If you leave them a tip, and the more people that turn over at the table, the more money they make. The same thing is true in business. The more times you fill the shelf up with new merchandise and you sell it, the better your chance of making more money. High turnover means the fact that you can sit down and make more money. It's a big deal in everything. Here's a lot of the accounts. If you look at the different aspects, cash, liabilities, how you balance them all up between them. So you want to look in your balance sheet. These are critical, and you'll see them listed in almost every balance sheet. Here's what you have on your other statements when it comes down to it. Your sales revenue, your income statement, your cost of buying goods, and your wages. You track these different labels. These are often used when you're calculating that ratio, that aspect of it. So here's the ratios. I want you to know about the liquidity ratios, which deals with the liquidity, how much you can liquidate the company. Leverage ratios is about debt. Profitability, how profitable, and activity ratios, especially that whole aspect of inventory turnover. Also, make sure you know earnings per share, just in case you ever want to dive into the stock market or talk intelligently about it, and inventory turnover by the time you're all done. So here's a couple things. What are the four categories of ratios? Make sure you know that, and also about the ratio analysis used for the financial statements. Take care.